There we go. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Our case stud, as you can see, it's another edition of Back Issue Bin where I kind of go up and read and review comic books that I've just read. There's only four here today. Two are just single issues, and the other two are long graphic novels, which will take a little bit more time. But first off, we want to start with Groo the Wanderer special from Eclipse Comics #1. I did get this in a 4-pack at eBay off a guy in Florida at a good price. And these are all decent quality Groos that came through. So as you can tell, it took a couple years for him to exactly get this ready to go. This was right before they got before Sergio got around to making it for the Epic imprint in Marvel. There's a tale of Groo. Groo is basically that one story where just a basic person looks like, the king. So these people follow Groo into battle thinking that he's the real king, which he isn't. Hilarity ensues. They're beating people up, and then they find out he isn't him, and they're a little SOL. It's really funny. Groo is about the only real. I mean, I love other funny comics. I think we all do. I mean, Peter Porker Spider Ham's another one that I believe everyone loves. If not yet, you hate comedy in your comics. Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew. It's another good one. And then this was Groo before he was Groo. Allegedly, this was written in '77. So Groo wasn't too dumb. Basically, he was fighting to save a village, and this woman said, "Well, if you protect me, you'll be my strong, handsome warrior." So, guys, you know how that is. But then she's kidnapped by these little, what can I put? Little monkey-like people, and they make him a choir. Make all the women that they took a choir. And then Groo decides he's going to make them musical instruments, and they use them and have the girls use the musical instruments. And then afterwards, Groo's like, you know what? Screw it. The women can make music. And then they just did little figures you can cut out if you wanted to, which at this point, nah. But overall, it was fun. I give this a strong B. I do go on a letter grade system. I should have remembered that from my earlier days. But remember, this one is Groo 120. This is the last issue of the Marvel run. This is indeed a direct edition. The quality on this, I was quite surprised. I mean, the only reason I picked up this 4-pack was just the quality of these issues. I mean, I'm sure they've been read, but the guy took really good care of. And in this, Groo goes into a town where all these people know about is just slaying and using their swords. So they make Groo their sheriff, but he arrests the wrong people. He doesn't arrest the people that are slaying. More like the people that get in the way or litter, little things. And then they go to a guy who's more of a peacekeeper and starts slowly teaching Groo not to use swords. Groo not use swords? Oh my goodness. And then from there, the town becomes peace. The little village becomes peaceful, based on that little dude right there. He has a name. I know he has a name. Can't remember. It's been a few days. I think he's like a one-off character. His name is Nomas. So then, towards the end, he has Groo thinking that, well, maybe Swords isn't right, so he goes to see over here. He hangs him up, but then following the letter pages after they say that they're getting ready to go to Image, which I think that was kind of a little disaster. Oh, come on. Oh, it won't let me go there. There we go. You can see the epilogue. Groo comes back for his swords. And that was pretty much it for this. It was a really good story. What a way to end the Marvel run. And to be prepared for the next run of Groot coming up. Again, another strong B. Okay, and this is the next one. Source Point Press, Tony Schiavone, Butts and Seats. The Tony Schiavone story. Championship edition. I got this from Dirk Manning at Fantasticon last month in Toledo. I saw it. Yeah, send it right there. I saw it. I was going to get just the soft cover, and he said, I have one hardcover championship edition left that was funded by Kickstarter. I found that in the warehouse, and for a $10 upgrade, I decided, from soft to hard, why not? This just basically follows Tony Schiavone's life story. He ends up becoming a wrestling fan thanks to his old Uncle John. And then he goes to college for basically do radio broadcasting for sports. And wrestling is going to come to the school, so he buys tickets, and including getting his Uncle John in there. And Ric Flair and Greg Valentine against Wahoo McDaniel and Johnny Weaver was the main event match. Shit broke down, got wild. You see Uncle John hitting Greg Valentine. And then here's where Schiavone goes to graduates, starts doing his broadcasting career, meets the love of his life. Someone gets him in to do it before Starrcade 83, an interview with Flair. For Jim Crockett Promotions. And Flair liked it so much they had them start him off right away. Basically just doing interviews, and then later on he became the commentator we all know. He kind of goes through all of that. He goes through, his, Jim Ross coming in, talking. He still wants to do stuff with the Atlanta Braves and baseball. It talks about Vince McMahon wanting him for that short stint, like what, 88, 89. That was kind of, it was just kind of real stupid, but Vince did it because he liked him. Basically took him away, but thought he was too southern. And then he goes, so he comes back. You know, there's Bischoff getting ready to run WCW, and then there's the NWO thing. You know, we had the ratings war and that infamous Monday night speech where, you know, the Raw was taped when Foley won the belt, and he said, "Boy, I'll put butts in seats." And then that's pretty much when the WCW kind of lost the Monday Night War after that. And he talks about WCW closing and his life afterwards, in which he struggled, and he had a whole bunch of. He went back to radio, but also, besides radio, he had a whole bunch of part-time jobs, including working one at Starbucks. And then, just by happen chance, they happened to get him back. They got him in for the All-In pay-per-view. And then from there, Tony Khan wanted him for AEW, which is where he's been now. Including after his lean years. Then there's some stories that he told. Bobby Heenan and Wahoo and Sting. They're all ribbing him and doing everything. But it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. I'm not the biggest Tony Schiavone fan per se. But as far as the overall presentation, and I got to learn more about Schiavone and a little bit behind the scenes and what he's really like, instead of this pompous jerk that I've always assumed he was, that he's came across. So I mean, if there's ever a convention I'm at, or I go to a wrestling convention and he's there, would I want him to sign this? I would say no, but at this point, you know, to go along with the Dirk Manning already signing it. Yeah. And then the last one is also from Dirk Manning in his Source Point Press. It's Arn Anderson, My Life as the Enforcer. This one was the best read that I have ever had. Here's Dirk's card. Tales of Mystery, Nightmare World, Right or Wrong, and more. There's his webpage. You also catch him on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and whatever these other two are. And there's a special code. If you want to scan it, pause it and scan it, go right ahead. Now, after I had bought Tony Schiavone, I was ready to walk away because I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And he goes, well, since you are a wrestling and a comic book fan, I do have this one. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, I wasn't really going to pay another $35. The only reason I did was on this sheet right down there is an Arn Anderson autograph. Of course, there's Dirk Manning and the other creators on this book, Colin Griffin and Sean Daly. And as you can see, Dirk Manning did indeed personalize this to me, which is fine. It's not like it's going anywhere. At least until I'm pass away from this earth. This one I really, really came into my own, because in the 80s was when I was 84, I was 9. We moved to town. We got cable. And within a few months after that, we found wrestling. It was something that every Saturday, me and my brother and my stepdad all did. Saturday and Sunday, we'd sit on the couch and watch sports. We'd watch wrestling, unless we were doing other things. And Arn Anderson is the Four Horsemen in the '80s. That's right, just like that. So he really tells his story. There's an interviewer, but they never show the interviewer. And he talks about growing up living with his grandma and grandpa because apparently his mom didn't have a very good. Oh, hi, Kiki. Didn't have a very good life to give him. Apparently, she had plenty of husbands and boyfriends and drugs she was more interested in. So it was a really rough upbringing for Arn. And I kind of root for people that have rough upbringings and make something of themselves. Here he figures out he's good at sports. Here's how you run. There's two parts of the town. The upper part is where the rich kids were, and the lower part was him. But they would all get together, and the touchdown was you'd have to run. If they were playing football, you'd have to run up the hill. And he became friends with one of the rich kids who invited him over. And the minute he saw that house, he's like, okay. They didn't. This is him stepping on carpet for the first time and in socks and just being surprised and how warm his friend's family were. And so it made him kind of want to be somebody. And that's how he got into amateur wrestling. And then he got away from it, even though he was a good wrestler. He wanted to get away to make money in a job. And then he still watched wrestling. Then he became a butcher. And then he met Ted Allen, who started training him. And then got him going as a few job slots in the Pensacola territory, which I believe Bullet Bob Armstrong was helping to run. And then from there, he went to Georgia, where he was supposed to be getting a little bit of a push, but it didn't work out because Matt Bourne ended up screwing him over. Yeah, Kiki. So he went back to Pensacola in a mask, was good. Then they sent him over to Mid-South where he learned under Bill Watts. Even though he was an underneath guy for like a year or so, he was learning a lot. Now here's where he's going to go with Bourne. Okay. But they were supposed to get the tag belts, but then Bourne screwed up with his substance abuse and everything. And that's when the Road Warriors came in. So Arn's opportunity was screwed by Maniac Matt Bourne, the original Doink. He would get it back later, though. Of course, we all know he would. But this opened up the door for where the Road Warriors started. And they broke out from there. But he was gaining more and more. And there's a drunken Matt Bourne fighting him, and that was kind of it. Let's see, there's the Road Warriors. But then went back to Pensacola. learn some more, gain his expertise. Here he was going to be part of a good tag team down there. And here's the Samoans. He thought they were going to beat him up in the shower, but they thanked him for being a little rough with the Tongan Kid because the Tongan Kid was going to go up to New York at the time and make more. They wanted just to thank him for that, which I thought was pretty cool, considering that this is early bloodline stuff. There he's learning stuff, and there he's for spine buster. Here's his girlfriend. There's their baby. His first boy. It's where Flair meets him, brings him to Crockett. They just start teaming up with Tully and Ole, and Ole finally figures out, oh God, you do look like me. And that's when he, then they started the 4-man team, and that's when the Horsemen were born, and how much they were partying and stuff. That's when they were having. That's when Jim Crockett was having problems. So then, he called Barry Darsow. Barry said, "Come on up to WWF." Him and Tully did, but unfortunately, Vince took them because they were popular down in the South because they were Southern wrestlers. But he didn't. Their opportunity, he wasn't going to pay them the full guarantee, but they were. So this is when Arn went back and won the TV title and tag belts, and then he got injured and figured out that couldn't exactly wrestle again. But he was still there teaching everyone in WWE for a while and being manager there. But now he's gone. He went to AEW. Now I believe him and his son are gone. They're on the Indies, which is what I believe Brock needs to do some learning. And I know Brock right now is doing some teaming with C.W. Anderson as the Anderson. So he's learning. Hopefully Brock can make it to the WWE, get some more experience under his belt because he has some potential. And there we go. And I'm proud to say in the 80s, I did not like Arn because back then you didn't know it was what it was until you grew up. Then you started realizing how good they were, whether being babyface or a heel. Dirk Manning, you get a personal shout out and a thank you for this. Hopefully more wrestling graphic novels come out your way. I don't know what you have going on, but whatever comes up, I'm certainly going to start endorsing your fundraising. You've done a really good job with this one, the Arn Anderson. I definitely give an A. Wow, it was a long talk, huh, Kiki? It was. I know. We got more stuff to do, don't we? Yeah. Did you have fun reading the books too? No. Didn't I show you the pictures? Yeah, I know I showed you the pictures. You and Miko are always looking at the pictures when I read. All right. Well, that's about it. Thank you, Kit Kat, for chiming your 2 cents in. I'd say you're $5. We will see you again for another back issue bin.